Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official college football week number 5 picks and predictions, where I predict the final score of every single game involving a ranked team. And we do have a boatload of good matchups this week. We will begin on Friday night. There's one Friday night ranked matchup. It is Miami. They're at number 7 overall in the country. Cam Ward right now looks like he's at least top 3 in terms of Heisman contention. They just crushed South Florida, and now they're taking on Virginia Tech at home. Virginia Tech, a team a lot of people thought were going to be better than they are right now. They did just lose to Rutgers, although Rutgers was a decent team, but now they have 2 losses on the year. You do have Miami sitting minus 17 with a 90% chance to win this game, and I do think Miami wins this game relatively easily. At home, 40-17. That would be them covering the 17-point spread. Cam Ward, it's more of the same. He continues to roll. 330 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, maybe 4 touchdowns, and they easily beat a Virginia Tech team that is worse than we originally thought. Moving on to the Saturday noon slate, it is Ole Miss sitting at 4-0 right now, also 4-0 against the spread. They're given a 91% chance to beat Kentucky. Kentucky, they've kind of had a weird year, or they've played really bad in some games. They almost beat Georgia, probably outplayed Georgia. They had like 10 more first downs than them, but that game was home. This game is on the road at Ole Miss. And Ole Miss, I think, I just cannot pick against Ole Miss right now, even when it comes to covering the spread. I mean, at a certain point, you just got to start riding them. And I do have them winning this game 36-13 and covering that 17-point spread. We'll see what happens with Kentucky, which team shows up. But Jackson Dart right now, there's another potential Heisman contender. They also do have a very good receiver. They win this game, and they do look to be positioned well to make the college football playoff. Another noon start. It is Minnesota traveling to Michigan. So Michigan sitting only minus 10. It's pretty crazy considering Minnesota just had a bad performance against Iowa, but I guess because Michigan can't throw, they're only 10-point favorites in this one. I do think Michigan wins this game. They are a real one-dimensional team, and we'll see if they embrace it, or will they potentially go back to Davis Warren. Alex Orji, I guess, gives you the running ability. He's certainly very athletic. Maybe a 2 QB system. I don't know, man. It's going to be very hard. I'll say they cover the spread by a single point. Every game involving Michigan, you would imagine, is going to be lower scoring because they're going to try and ball control, and it's not like they're going to score a ton of points, especially if they are starting Alex Orji. They cannot throw the football. Maybe on a few trick plays, we'll have to see. But Minnesota this year is just not very good. So Michigan wins this game 24-13 in a relatively uneventful noon start there. We've got a ranked v. ranked matchup. It's 2 teams coming off losses. Oklahoma State traveling to Kansas State. Kansas State right now sitting 5.5-point favorites. Oklahoma State, though, according to the FPI, given a 53% chance to win on the road. That's because Kansas State got annihilated against BYU, and they got crushed in terms of their analytics. But I will be going back on Kansas State in this game. I think they cover the 5.5-point spread. Oklahoma State this year has not been good at all. After that week 1 win against South Dakota State, they have really struggled. They probably should have lost to Arkansas. You lose to Utah. Utah traveling to Stillwater, winning that game with their backup QB. I don't know. Ollie Gordon has not been good this year. I still think Kansas State is a decent team, even after getting blown out at BYU. That was a really bad spot for them, playing that game at night, energized crowd, and they get crushed. But now they're going to have the energy, and they're going to win this game. This is an 11 a.m. Central Time start. They cover that spread 30-23 there. Here's another 11 a.m. start. It is Baylor hosting BYU. Man, this game, I'm surprised this game is on at noon, because you've got BYU from the western side of the U.S. taking on a central team, and it's a noon start time. Baylor sitting -3. BYU given a 52% chance to win this game. Baylor is a decent team. They are. They almost beat Colorado. They should have beaten Colorado. Colorado won on a Hail Mary that sent the game to overtime, and then they won in overtime. I will take Baylor at home to win this game. It's going to be lower scoring. It's an early start. Give me them 20-13 over a BYU team that I think, listen, they've had a nice start to the year. They're 4-0, but it's not like they're this ultra talented team. They go on the road in an early window game. They struggle a little bit, and they take the loss 20-13. Next, we do have the 3:30 window. It is USC hosting Wisconsin. It seems like USC has had no games at the Coliseum this year, or maybe they've had one against Utah State, but it seems like they've had a lot of road games. They're coming off that tough loss to Michigan. That's a game they should have won, but they lost it, and now they're sitting minus 14.5. They're still ranked inside the top 15. They can still make the playoff, but it is a little bit dire for them now. Wisconsin, not nearly as good as they normally are. USC, 88% chance to win this game. This is a 12:30 Pacific start time, and I do have USC winning this game and covering the 14.5, 37-17. They get back on track with Miller Moss. They get a few touchdowns early in the first quarter, and they cruise to a nice, easy victory against a Wisconsin team that's just outmanned in this one, traveling to the West Coast. Moving to another 3:30 game, ranked v. ranked. How about this? Number 15 versus number 16. It is Louisville. They are undefeated, taking on Notre Dame. Notre Dame with that one loss. Notre Dame sitting minus 4.5 point favorites at home. They've given a 67% chance to win this game, and I will take Notre Dame at home to win this game, 27-16. This is a non-conference game for Louisville, although it's kind of weird because Notre Dame does have that scheduling thing with the ACC where they face like 4 ACC teams a year. But I do like Notre Dame to win this game and cover the spread. Riley Leonard does struggle to throw the football, but it's not like an Alex Orji situation to where he can't throw. He can throw at least a little bit. We saw what they did against Purdue. He ran on them like crazy. Same thing happened against Miami of Ohio. They win that game 28-3. They didn't cover the spread, but it was still a decent performance and a good performance by their defense. I am not buying Louisville. Yes, I did pick Louisville to lose last week to Georgia Tech, but let's be honest, Louisville got outgained by 100 yards. Even though I was wrong on that prediction, they still got outgained by 100 yards by Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, they outplayed Louisville. They had a few bad turnovers. I've got nothing against Louisville, but Notre Dame's just the better team. They're going to win this game. They're going to cover the spread, 27-16 there. Another 3:30 game. It is Texas A&M, somehow still ranked after barely beating Bowling Green. They will be facing Arkansas. Arkansas has kind of had a little bit of a mixed bag this year. I mean, if they would have beaten Oklahoma State, they would be having a decent year right now because they beat Auburn. And now they're traveling on the road. This is another winnable game for them. A&M sitting -4. I will be taking A&M to win this game. This is one of those old-fashioned SEC kind of just blah matchups that is going to be ugly. 23-17, A&M pulls it out at home. I would prefer A&M to lose this game, honestly, just so I don't have to predict their games anymore. I thought they would have gotten knocked off for Indiana or something, but here's A&M, and I've got them winning this game 23-17, so it looks like they'll probably be moving up even further if that does end up happening. Next, we do have Oklahoma traveling to Auburn. So Oklahoma, welcome to the SEC. The first game, you get Tennessee, you lose that one. Now you're traveling on the road. Auburn is really struggling this year, though. Oklahoma only sitting 2.5 point favorites. Brett Venables, the huge issues on offense with Jackson Arnold possibly going to their backup QB. I think that would be a wise decision. They are clinging to that number 21 spot right now, and this season could really fall apart on Oklahoma, their first year in the SEC. They need this win desperately, and I think they get it. They eke this one out. They're more talented. They win by a field goal, and they would cover that 2.5 point spread. But this is not a comfortable game for Oklahoma traveling on the road after that home loss to Tennessee with their current quarterback situation. Next, you do have Texas. How about this? Texas, welcome to the SEC. Your 38.5 point favorites. So this is a pretty crazy game. Mississippi State this year, they're worse than Vanderbilt. They are horrible. It's crazy to see an SEC game not involving Vanderbilt have a spread of 38.5 points. And I do think Texas, we'll see what happens with Quinn Ewers. I guess they could rest him another week if they really wanted to, but it seemed like they were already being cautious with him against UL Monroe, and he should be back for this week. I do have them winning this game 45-7. I guess they would not cover that 38.5 point spread. Understand this, though. I did pick Texas to win 52-3 last week, and they won 51-3. So we'll see if I can continue with Texas. I've got them at 45-7 over Mississippi State. 38.5 is a huge number. Maybe they cover it on a late defensive touchdown. Betting on these games is always annoying when there's a massive spread like that, especially when it's in conference. It's very rare. Moving on to the 7 o'clock games. By the way, that Texas game was at 4:15. Kind of a random start there, but the 7 o'clock games. So this is just a pure 7 o'clock start. Ohio State and Michigan State. Normally, Ohio State never plays at 7 o'clock. It's always 7:30. But the reason this is at 7 is because it's on Peacock. This is like the one exclusive Ohio State game on Peacock. They're sitting -25 in this one. They're coming off that win over Marshall. They did not cover the spread. but they totally controlled the second half and dominated Marshall. They're given a 93% chance to win. Michigan State, they've kind of been a letdown this year, at least Aiden Childs has. He has not played well at all. I think he's got like 2 touchdowns and 5 interceptions or something. I know he's got more interceptions than touchdowns, and his completion percentage is terrible. And that's just a horrible recipe against an Ohio State team. I guess if you're Michigan State, the one thing you can say is Ohio State has not been challenged literally at all. They have faced 3 cupcakes all at home, and they've had a bye in between. So it's like they could really be sleepwalking, especially if there's a good environment in East Lansing early in this game. But I still do think Ohio State wins this game very easily and covers that 25-point spread 41-10. It's just the way that Michigan State's offense has been playing. We'll see if Nick Marsh is back. I know he didn't play against Boston College. They almost beat Boston College. That would have been a really nice road win for them without their key receivers. But Ohio State has been beating up on Michigan State like the last 5 or 6 years. It seems like every game involving these teams is a blowout. Maybe 25 points is too much, but based on how good Ohio State's defense is versus how inaccurate Aiden Childs has been, I will take the Buckeyes to win this game by 31. Another 7 o'clock game. It is Clemson sitting minus 21.5 hosting Stanford. Clemson right now is on some type of warpath. I mean, it's impressive what Clemson has been doing the past few weeks. They had a bye week 2 weeks ago, but before that, they crushed Appalachian State. Then they were up 52-7 against NC State, and I think they easily cover this spread against Stanford. Clemson is a juggernaut, and they are a top 15 team right now. They're going to crush Stanford at home. This is a terrible matchup for Stanford. 37-7. Stanford's going to struggle to score in that one. Another 7 o'clock game. It is Iowa State traveling on the road to take on Houston. Houston has been terrible this year. They just got crushed by Cincinnati. Iowa State just beat Arkansas State. Iowa State sitting minus 12.5 in this one. I do think Houston shows some life, being that they are at home. Maybe they get some energy, and they only lose this game by 8 points. They end up covering the spread, but Iowa State wins 31-23 in that one. Moving on to the mega matchup, or should I say MAGA matchup, because Donald Trump's going to be there. It is Georgia taking on Alabama. Both of these teams coming off of a bye. Georgia sitting at number 2 in the country, Alabama at number 4. Carson Beck and this Georgia offense struggling 2 weeks ago against Kentucky. Will they be able to rebound on the road against an Alabama team with Jalen Milroe, who's right now top 5 in terms of the Heisman? They've got the true freshman, Ryan Williams, and obviously both of these teams, goes without saying, their defenses are absurdly talented. These are 2 of the top 3 most talented rosters in college football. Alabama, believe it or not, given a 66% chance to win by ESPN FPI. That's because the analytics did not like Georgia's performance against Kentucky on the road, where Kentucky got 10 more first downs than Georgia, and Georgia barely won that game. They are sitting 1.5-point favorites. I've gone back on and forth on this game. It's an early season matchup. These are the exact games that we love, and this is why I am glad we did go to the 12-team playoff. Everyone said these games would be meaningless. It wouldn't matter. No, this is how a competitive sport should work. Just because one of these teams is going to lose, that doesn't mean they should be punished by completely missing the playoff format. It just doesn't make any sense. So this is a really good early season game, but whoever loses this game obviously is still going to be fine in terms of making the playoff. That's normally how sports work. When an NFL team loses in week 2, they don't automatically get eliminated from the playoffs. So this is a good system. And I do have Alabama. I went back and forth. I had Georgia originally, but I am taking Bama plus the 1.5 to win this game outright, possibly on a walk-off field goal. It might even be more high scoring. I have a feeling this game's going to be higher scoring. I know everyone's like, well, Carson Beck's not very good. I think there's going to be some points in this game. Don't overreact. Carson Beck had a good year last year. They crushed Clemson in week 1. It turns out Clemson is really good. This is going to be a fun one. Give me the home team, Bama, to get a huge win, but it's going to be very close. 31-28 there. Another 7:30 game. This game kind of overshadowed. How about this? 19-9. It is Illinois undefeated at 4-0, coming off that Friday night win against Nebraska on the road. They will be taking on Penn State, who's also undefeated. Penn State coming off a 56-0 win against Kent State. Penn State sitting minus 18 in this game, given an 86% chance to win. I think that's a little bit disrespectful to the Illini. Illinois will fight early. They've got a decent defense, but I do think Penn State pulls away and wins this game 27-17. I will say, normally when you get games like this where it's 2 ranked undefeated teams and there's a crazy spread like this, normally, believe it or not, the team always covers. And I know I didn't predict this, but I'm just telling people this is what I remember. So Penn State minus 18. I know people will look at this and say these are two 4-0 teams. I mean, I just did that. I'm like an NPC. It's weird. It's this weird thing where it's like I'm an NPC and then I correct myself and say, no, don't be an NPC. But I do have the NPC score 27-17. But I'm just saying, normally in these situations, you think, well, 18 points, that's disrespectful to Illinois. Yes, they're on the road. They're probably not going to win, but they're going to be able to keep it within that. But normally these games are blowouts. I'm just warning people. It wouldn't surprise me if it was. I'm trying to cover myself, let's just be honest. But moving on to the 7:45 game, how about this? South Alabama coming off an 87. Yeah, remember when they scored 87 points? And then this past week, they blew someone else out as well. South Alabama analytically is very good, taking on LSU. LSU sitting at number 14 in the country. LSU, this is hilarious, only given a 78% chance to win. So the FPI needs to be recalibrated because they factor in blowouts way too much against bad teams. Like South Alabama scored 87 points and they moved up like 50 spots. But they scored 87 points against like an FCS team or whatever. So I do think LSU wins this game. LSU has to finally cover a spread, for God's sakes. I think they're 0-4 against the spread or something. They win this game. They cover the 20.5 point spread, 47-23 in that one. And then we do have 3 late night games. This one starting at 10 o'clock. It is Washington State, who is sitting undefeated. They are receiving votes right now to be ranked. They're not ranked yet. Taking on number 25 Boise State with the superstar running back Genty. Boise State -7. Listen, I don't think Washington State is very good. Boise State is at home. To me, this is an avalanche. Boise State blows out Washington State 41-17. They easily cover that 7-point spread. And Genty runs for 220 and 3 touchdowns. We've got a 10-15 game. It is Utah sitting -12.5, taking on Arizona. Arizona coming off of a bye week. They still got an explosive offense. They've had a rough year, though. Utah, on the other hand, we'll have to see what it's going on with Cam Rising. At this point, it seems like he basically gets injured every year, so you can't really count on him even when he's on the field. I think this is going to be a relatively close game. I will take Utah to win it late, possibly on a field goal, but I do like the value on Arizona. They've got a way better offense than Utah. Yes, it is hard to score on the road, but I do think they're able to keep this game close, maybe even pull off the upset, but I do have them losing by 2, covering that 12.5 point spread. And then the final game of the night, it is 11 o'clock Eastern start, the Rose Bowl. It will be your typical classic Pac-12 matchup. Oregon coming off their bye week, sitting at number 8, taking on UCLA. UCLA not very good. Oregon sitting -24. And I do think Oregon wins this game very easily and covers that 24-point spread. Dylan Gabriel and company win 47-14. UCLA, again, not a good team this year. Either way, guys, that will do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.